Good evening, everyone. If you would like a seat, please take a seat. Good evening. I'm Terry Egan. I'm here tonight. My capacity as president of the Chamber of Commerce. It's nice to not be on that side of things for a change, for those of you that know. But really, we wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming. I feel personally very seriously that this is something that I wish more people would be involved with. I invite anybody that's ever, interested in getting involved. Running for public office is a phenomenal opportunity. I got a great deal of fulfillment from my years of doing it, and I really do think good people need to get involved. So thank you all for being here. And so we're really excited this evening. The Chamber of Commerce, together with Spotlight News and League of Women Voters, does sponsor these candidate forums on an annual basis. And we're really very pleased to partner with the League as well as the Spotlight. It's important to note also, we are recording this. While not being live streamed, it is recorded. Tomorrow morning we will upload it to the Spotlight YouTube page. There'll be a link from the Chamber website as well. So please, if you are aware of anybody that wanted to come tonight but was unable to, a viewing of this will be available. So in the interest of keeping things moving, because I know everybody wants to get going with this, I want to introduce Christine from the League of Women Voters, and we're all started.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here. My name is Christine Flores. I am on the board of directors of the League of Women Voters of Albany County. What I'm going to do to start is a little bit history of the League of Women Voters, just a little bit. I'm not going to bore you. I am going to then go through the rules of the evening that we have agreed to with the candidates, how you could submit questions, and then introduce the candidates. So, a little bit about us. We are over 100 years old. The League has a nonpartisan political organization that is focused on helping citizens learn about issues, voting, voting rights, and candidates. We are a volunteer organization, and our mission is to promote active and informed participation in democracy. We do not endorse candidates or political parties. As a matter of fact, I live in Loudonville, and that's the reason why I was picked tonight. I cannot vote for any of the candidates, and I have no vested interest in the outcome of this evening. So, the goal of the League is to ensure that you have the tools that are necessary to help you make informed decisions about votes. Please consider joining us as a volunteer, as a member, whether you're male and female, to help us support us in our work. For more, now about elections. For more information about the hours and locations of elections and early voting and the voting process, you could go to our website, lwvalbany.org, or to the League of Women Voters election information website, which is vote411.org. Very easy to remember. Vote 411 includes information about checking your voter registration, finding your voting locations, and then you could find information about candidates as well. While the League has organized this evening's forum, I want to make sure that we acknowledge the gracious support of Spotlight News and Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, and to you for attending and participating in the democratic process. And I want to thank all of the candidates for participating as well. And thank you to the town of Bethlehem for providing this space, and also to Spotlight News for recording this. As an FYI, we'll be posting the recording on our Facebook page, and it should be up on our website page as well. And I want to thank Ginny Gajeski, who is going to be our timer, Deb Liebman, who helped organize this evening's event, Britt Westergaard, who is our secretary for the board of directors, and we have some other League members here tonight who are helping out. Now, the rules are that the candidates have agreed that they will, first of all, we had asked for people to submit questions online, and we're going to ask if you want to submit questions. There are cards in the back at the table. You could fill them out and write your question. Please make them as short as possible and use legible handwriting. If it's a duplicate of a question that's already been asked, we will put it aside, and if we can't read it, we're sorry, okay? We can't ask the question. So the candidates have agreed in advance, and this will govern how we proceed. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates will have 2 opportunities, and I have to give this to them, to raise a red card if they want to not rebut, to add to their previous answer to a question, and they'll have an additional minute. Then there'll be a minute for the closing. They will, the candidates have chosen lots to determine the order. They will do in that order for opening statement and then reverse the order for closing statement, and then I'll be going down the line who will be answering a question first based on who was or did the opening statement. Our timers are sitting in the front, and they will give each candidate a warning as time runs out. If a candidate goes over, I will let you know. We have to move through these questions, and we would like to give everybody an opportunity to answer each question. And as I've mentioned, Ginny is our kind timer, and thank you. And then again, we will have time. If we do have time, we'll get questions. You could go to the back and get a card and fill one out. I'm going to ask that everyone please turn off your personal equipment. Please do not record the proceedings. There is a recording, and it'll be posted on social media. Please do not applaud. Wait till the end. If there's a candidate you support, please wait till the end to applaud them, and you could go up and talk to them afterwards. This is an informational forum, not a political rally. And that means we ask that all campaign literature, signs, T-shirts, and buttons be held till after the program has ended. There'll be time at the end of the evening for each of you to greet the candidates and to distribute or to get campaign materials. So we've gotten through that. Tonight we have candidates for the Bethlehem Town Board as well as 2 candidates for the Highway Superintendent. The 2 candidates for Highway Superintendent, Mark Dorsey and Craig Slurs, will have 5 minutes each, and then we will get to the town board candidates, which will be Joyce Becker, Kellen Rowlands, and Tom Schnur. The Highway Superintendent is responsible for maintaining the town streets and the infrastructure of town streets and sidewalks, including snow removal, as well as caring for town green spaces. Town board members meet to hold hearings on issues and pass resolutions on legislation on matters impacting town government. They are responsible for adopting the annual budget, amending the town code, and addressing issues of concern to Bethlehem residents. So, Mr. Dorsey, you will be going first, and then after that, Craig Slurs. And then keep your eye on the timer, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, and the Spotlight for hosting this event. Thank you to the Bethlehem Democratic Committee, the County and State Young Democrats, Capital Women, and Northern Atlantic Building Trades for endorsing me. Thank you to the outstanding Highway Department crew for all their hard work and dedication. Thank you to my family. I was elected to the town Bethlehem Highway Superintendent in 2020. Starting my first term, my plan was to rebuild morale and enhance the department's work. Then COVID hit, and the Highway Department had to completely rethink how we would do our job to make sure our employees were safe and still able to provide services to the residents of this town. Even with staffing shortages, we were able to pave over 12 miles of road, which was double the number of miles paved in 2018 and 19 combined. This enabled the town to bring in over $500,000 in grant money. Despite the pandemic challenges, we were also finished the compost facilities expansion project and completely reconstructed the multi-use sports field at the town park. We also continued yard waste pickup. The Highway Department picked up 2 years' worth of yard waste in 2020 due to the October 5th windstorm. Right after that storm, loose leaf pickup started. Then we were able to clear the towns of loose leaves before one of the largest snowstorms in the town's history. In 2021, we were still living through COVID, and the infection rates were rising. Together as a community, we weathered a very different type of storm. Our children dealt with shortened school days or remote learning. Town hall was closed to the public. Employees were working from home. Deemed essential, the Highway Department was still on-site providing services to the town, despite being short-staffed. In the first part of 2021, we worked with the Albany County Sheriff's Department to set up a drive-through pod site for COVID vaccinations. Then the New York State Nurses Association asked the department to provide the same assistance to them as well. This for sure was a first for the Highway Department, and as far as I know, the Bethlehem was the only highway department to provide this type of assistance. That spring, we started off with spring cleanup, and we could finally hold Hazardous Waste Day, which hadn't happened since the start of the pandemic. To save town money, the highway department renovated the town's fueling station and saved taxpayers over $200,000 by using in-house labor. Improvements included adding fuel pumps, fuel pad, and a modern computer system. This year, we installed over 2,000 feet of new sidewalk and paved over 17 miles of road in 2021, bringing in over $600,000 in state funding. I guess we were happy with our service because I was reelected again in November. Thank you for that, because my second term as highway superintendent has been a great success. If we see a problem, we fix it, we get the job done. I'm extremely proud of the department and team we have become. We have streamlined our department to provide services beyond our residents' expectations. Leaf pickup in the past could go on into January. Now our town's leaves are picked up in 34 days. We have equipped all of our plow trucks with salters for greater efficiency. In 2022 and 2023, we paved almost 25 miles of roads, over $1.7 million in state funding. We also installed over 15,000 feet of new sidewalk, over 7,000 foot of blacktop sidewalk. We took on projects such as paving the Bethlehem ambulance building parking lot, again saving taxpayer dollars. There are a few things I have in common with my opponent. We are both lifelong residents of Bethlehem and have deep roots here. We both are emergency service background and love this town. One of the differences is my construction background. I have been a member of the International Union of Operator Engineers, Local 158, for over 30 years. When I was younger, I worked all over the Northeast in all aspects of construction. Before taking office as highway superintendent in 2020, I was employed by New York State Department of Homeland Security, assigned to Task Force 2. I served in the Army and continue serving in the Air National Guard. I am a combat veteran and served in Afghanistan. My military and construction background have taught me how to work under pressure and in some of the toughest circumstances. Over the past 4 years at the helm of the Highway Department, I've become a proven leader. I respect my crew, I value my staff so we can get the work done. It is my goal and my mission to provide the best services to this town by streamlining and being more proficient in our work. I want to implement a plan to reduce road salt and continue to make our fleet more energy efficient. I want Bethlehem Highway Department to be an example of excellence to other municipalities. When time permits, I want to continue to take on projects that save the hard-earned tax dollars. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the voters for giving me the opportunity to be the highway superintendent. And most importantly, thank you to the Highway Department for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slurs?
Thanks, Mark. Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, and the Spotlight for allowing me to come here and speak to you guys tonight. My name is Craig Slurs. I'm currently the chief of the Sterling Hills Fire Department. I've been involved in the fire service for over 38 years. I've also run my own lawn care and snow plowing business. Prior to this, I served 21 years in the Bethlehem Police Department, and I retired in January of 2021. My family has a long legacy with the town of Bethlehem. Both my father, Joseph, and my brother, Brian, worked for the police department for decades. My two brothers, Lee and Andrew, also work for the town. Both of them have over 50 years of service to the town of Bethlehem. Currently, my son, Dan, works for the highway department. My family has over 150 years combined service to the town of Bethlehem. I love this town, and I would do my best to make it a better place. It's always been a great place to live, and I want to give the future generation the same great place my family enjoyed. I am motivated to run for highway superintendent because I think we can do a lot better in several areas. The budget has ballooned over the last few years. I manage a budget at the Sterling Hills Fire Department. I've always been fiscally conservative. We buy equipment we need to get the job done, but we also realize it's the public's money. Therefore, we don't buy what we don't need, and we constantly look for ways to save money for the public when appropriate. I've heard from way too many residents that issues are not getting addressed. Street repairs, drainage issues, overgrowth, safety issues. Many of these items have gone unaddressed for years. I don't see this as acceptable. The highway department works for you, and I will provide the best customer service possible because you deserve it as residents. If you call about an issue, I will meet with you. and will work with you as a stakeholder to resolve the problems to the best of my ability. If the perfect solution is not feasible, I will have an honest conversation with you and what other alternatives there are. I want to build a culture of respect, motivation, and high morale at the Highway Department. If that isn't right, it's not possible for the residents to get a top-notch performance for their tax dollars. The lifeblood of the Highway Department is its people and employees. I've heard a lot about traffic safety issues in the town. As a former traffic safety investigator for the Bethlehem Police Department, I can leverage this experience to deploy effective, low-cost solutions to address the residents' needs. I am very excited to get to work at the Highway Department, and I hope I will have your support and your votes on November 7th this year. I appreciate your time and everybody's effort for being here tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you, and thank you for coming. So while we get settled, take a pause. And the other candidates, if you could come up and sit in the order of your lot, so, okay, that'll be helpful.
Testing.
You ready? Okay. I placed the red card on the shelf there. Okay, so if you want to use that. So, Mr. Schnurr had drawn the first lot, and he will go first with his opening statement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tom Schnurr. I'm a dad, Democrat, and education advocate running for town board. I'd like to take the time to thank everyone who made it here tonight. I'd like to take the time to thank the League of Women Voters, Spotlight, and the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voter Volunteers, who are out here making this event possible. I'm running for town board to help increase environmental protection in town, to go further than we've already gone, to make sure that we have the environment and the infrastructure we need around that to keep our quality of life high. I'd like to help increase and build safer pedestrian infrastructure. We've seen the impact of traffic accidents, speeding. I think we can do what we can, and we can work together to slow that down. I'd like to help work with support local businesses, particularly childcare. I've talked to too many families who are struggling to find childcare for their families, for their kids. I think we can do more to help cut red tape and bring access to those services more broadly available. I think our town is a pretty good place to live. There's a reason we're all here. There's a reason folks move here every day. There's a reason that real estate prices are high, because people want to be here. We need to do work to keep it that way. I think we can work together. I'm willing to work together with everyone here, everyone watching, across town to make that happen. There's some things we need to do to have that be effective. I think the town can enhance how it listens to residents. I think we need to build better systems to make sure that the voice of Bethlehem residents is heard, that there's a clear and transparent process where that resident complaints are addressed and resident issues are made into solutions. So thank you again, and I look forward to questions throughout the evening.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland?
Excellent. So thank you all for being here tonight, and special thanks to the organizers for pulling all this together. My name is Kellen Rowlands, and I am running as an unaffiliated candidate for Bethlehem Town Board. Over the last several months, I've had the very fortunate opportunity of touring Bethlehem, and first in the collection of petition signatures, and then to get my name out there after that petition was successful. Over that time, I have experienced a frequent misconception that I just wanted to address first in my opening remarks. Very often, I'm challenged by folks who assume that I am either an operative or have some bias towards one political party or the other, and that truly couldn't be further from the case. I am a citizen who is profoundly fed up with the political rancor, and I have been let down by our local government. I'm a data nerd. I believe strongly that a healthy strategy always must be objective and predicated on what the data tells us. Throughout my career, I've been an agent of change, working in nascent and developing evidence and data-informed strategies to inform both healthcare and social services on the policy side and on the implementation side. With both process improvement and innovation, I believe that there are two main concepts that must be satisfied to be successful in realizing any change. The first is we need diversity and perspective. We need a voice in our town that's willing to dissent and bring conversation back to the data. And we need somebody who will be willing to challenge assumptions and offer alternative perspectives. The second thing to successful innovation and change management is to fail often, fail early, learn from mistakes, and pivot. In my candidacy, I'm accountable solely to my actions and avail myself solely to the community. At the end of the day, I stand up here with one goal. I aspire to be a candidate that was.
Mr. Rollins, thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Ms. Becker.
Good evening, I'm Joyce Becker, and it's been an honor to serve you as your town board member for the past 2 terms. I'm running for another term because I like to build on our successes during the past 4 years. Number 1, the historic Heath Farm, or the 307 acres of farms and forest lands. In '23, the board began to interview candidates to serve on this advisory committee. The committee is directed by the town board to provide community insights and technical guidance to craft an overall vision for the properties and structures. Second, the comp plan. In '22, the town board adopted a new updated comprehensive comp plan. The planning board is now working with specialized code and zoning consultants and town staff to bring our zoning codes up to match the guidance language of the new comp plan. The next step will be to bring the code changes to the town board. Number 3, our police department. We established a citizens committee to foster trust between residents and our officers. We added a police interaction response form for the website, body cams as safety for the officers and residents. We welcomed the first female chief of police and recruited diverse officer candidates. Bethlehem Police Department is the most diverse department in town government. Parks and Rec, number 3. We are updating our parks to meet the changing needs of our residents. Pickleball courts are soon to be a staple at Elm Avenue Park in 2024. I'm hoping to see it in an Olympic event after that. On top of that, we are modeled in New York for open space initiatives, cutting-edge compost and recycling, partnership with our Delmar, Bethlehem, EMS, and Albany County. Our multi-year budgeting process is the best, updating town buildings to new ADA guidelines, and looking forward, we will continue to research funding options for electric vehicles. I chose to live and work in Bethlehem because of the amazing quality of life and community. If you elect me to the town board, I'll continue to advocate for all. Thank you.
Ms. Becker, thank you. Okay, so we'll get on with our questions. The first question. What steps will you take to make Bethlehem a welcoming and exclusive community? And we'll start with Kellen first.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rollins.
Yeah, and so I think this sort of dovetails into the remarks that I wasn't able to make. I ran over my time in my opening statement. But at the end of the day, I'm here with.
Excuse me, is your
Yes.
microphone on, Kellen? Maybe speak.
Test, how's that?
Can you speak a little
Yeah,
closer
sure.
to it?
That a little better? Great. So what I was saying was I think that the question dovetails well into the opening statement that I wasn't able to complete because I ran over time. But at the end of the day, my goal here really is to be, win or lose, be the candidate that I would be excited to vote for. That means accountability, accessibility. That means having open and collaborative conversations with the community, and it means being a conduit for individuals' concerns. So as far as how do we make this a better place for folks to a better town for folks to live in, I think it really starts with accessibility and transparency. And that is my primary goal in running for office.
Thank you. Ms. Becker. Do you want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Oh, certainly. What steps will you take to make Bethlehem a welcoming and inclusive community?
My mic did not want to stay on there, I'm sorry. I think we have a very open door policy here. I think people are always willing, town board members answer emails when they're asked for information, so does the town supervisor. And that's all I can say about being welcoming. We roll out the red carpet to our new residents, so I can't think of any other place as welcoming as Bethlehem.
Mr. Schnur.
Bethlehem is at its best when it is a community for everyone. You see the signs around town, together we are one Bethlehem, and that's when we work together, we make progress. We can't do what we need to do in this town to make it better for ourselves and for the next generation by doing it alone. We've seen this town at its best when it is welcoming. We saw it at the library this summer when inclusivity was prioritized and when the First Amendment was cherished and celebrated. We're going to continue to do that in town. I'm going to continue to be a voice for that. I'm going to continue to make sure that if you are a part of this town, that your story can be heard, you can be who you are, and that the town will stand behind you and make that possible. This is a place where everyone is welcome and everyone should feel welcome. And at any point someone doesn't, I want to be there to make sure that we're changing that and we're fixing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Becker, you will be going next. And the question is, do you feel that the current town government is receptive to residents' concerns? Why or why not? Please provide specific examples.
I know that with the town board that we're always willing to listen to. In fact, we go beyond our 3-minute limit many times to listen to the concerns of residents. I think that I can only speak for myself. If I receive an email from a resident and they're concerned, I will follow through. I've even taken the opportunity when I had different staff members have concerns about ADA modifications to come and look them over. As my husband is disabled, we have some background to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Schnur.
I think we've got a fantastic town staff, fantastic town employees who are responsive. I think we need to do better as a town to put them in a position to succeed on behalf of residents. I think we need a better system for hearing resident input and for residents to track those issues through the process, whether that be people driving too fast on their street, zoning concerns, environmental concerns. I think we need a better and more transparent system to track that. I'm excited to work with our town supervisor, the rest of the town board, to make that happen, to put that into place, and to make sure that folks know transparently where their issue is, how it's going to be handled, and how it's going in that process. We're never, ever, at no point is anybody responsive enough. Town government works for the people. It is an iterative process. We're going to continue to work to make sure that we're doing better each and every time with each and every issue that arises to serve the community better and to be more responsive and more inclusive of perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you. The third question, and we'll start with Mr. Schnur. Information sharing.
I didn't get to answer that one.
Okay, go ahead.
And the question was, do you feel that the town is
Receptive to
receptive?
residents' concerns.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that
One,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Did I make, oh, sorry, my mistake. Go ahead.
I'm good to go. All right, excellent. I think a great sort of poster child for in part why I sit up here is the town's lack of responsiveness to the concerns of citizens. The events that have occurred down with the port expansion and the lack of response that many concerned residents have brought forward in front of the board has been disheartening and dangerous, frankly. There is a significant public health concern that's presently at play and active within the town of Bethlehem, and we need to marshal every resource we have to address that. Yes, I think that there's a plethora of opportunity for the town to be more receptive and responsive to the concerns of citizens, especially when it regards public health.
Thank you, and my apologies for that.
Nope, no problem.
So the third question, and we will start with Mr. Schnur. My apologies. So information sharing and transparency from our elected official leaders is a pillar to success of democracy. What will you do to improve the current methods of information sharing to reach more members of our community?
I think we're going to do more. We're going to help get notices out to communities better. We're going to maintain the policy in terms of community engagement and enhance our efforts there, making sure that town meetings are live cast where possible, having community forums in different hamlets around town to make sure that they're able to connect with folks. Transparency and accessibility are, in fact, critical to good government. We've got to know where support comes from on issues. We've got to know where support comes from for candidates, too. It's important that candidates be transparent. It's important that everyone follow the law. We have laws on transparency. I hope that everyone follows them. And it's important that as a voter, we know, as a voter in this election, I want to know where a candidate gets their support. I want to know who is with them. I want to know where they come from. I want to know what their issues are. I'm very excited to be able to do that tonight and to respond to these concerns. I want to make sure that everyone's doing that the entirety of the campaign, following the law. It's hard to write laws if you're not willing to follow them. So I look forward to continuing the town's efforts of transparency and working to enhance them.
Thank you, Mr. Schnur. Mr. Rowlands, you're next.
I'm sorry, would you mind just repeating the question?
Yeah, sure.
Please, thank you.
Information sharing and transparency from our elected leaders is a pillar of success of democracy. What will you do to improve the current methods of information sharing to reach more members of our community?
Thank you for repeating the question. So I am, by profession, at least in part, and I would deny it in any other setting, but a technologist. And I think that there's a terrifically underutilized resource within this town as far as technology is concerned. Not only technology, but also the data that's being collected and used to inform policy decisions and used to inform outreach and engagement with the community. It would be a top priority of mine to assure that the resources that are currently in place, be those technical or some of the great ideas that Mr. Schnur just brought forward, be enhanced and make sure that folks have access to the information, be that in a technical modality or in a public outreach modality.
Thank you. Ms. Becker.
Information sharing, I think we certainly, we're on all the social media. We certainly share our information. But I think we have a very large population of older adults, and there are still older adults that want the snail mail. They want to be able to touch that paper to understand what to do. And I think because of that incredible number of older adults, it would behoove us to look at how can we do that and get the information to everyone in town. Is it by zip code, if it was, say, a project in Glenmont, or in Delmar only, or all town-wide? So I think we could work a little more on that, or utilize perhaps television as a way to broadcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rowlands, you'll be next. Do you favor citizen involvement in decisions for commissioner and department head promotions and appointments in town government?
Yes. I favor citizen participation in all decisions made by government. I think this is sort of circuitous in some of the conversation that we've had, coming back to accessibility of information and inclusivity. We need to have a viable resource for citizens. We need to have a resource through which information can be passed directly to the board. This is a core tenet of my candidacy here, is to function as exactly that, is to be an individual, to be responsive, to be the resource that I feel I did not have access to as I've been engaging the board for about the last 2 years as it regards to the port expansion project.
Thank you, Mr. Rowlands. Ms. Becker.
Special meetings, the supervisor will extend an invitation that comes on the website. Special meetings of the supervisor. In fact, we just did that for looking for candidates who applied for the Heath project, the Heath land project. And they're open to all citizens, and it's a choice. Many times, there's no citizen there to be at this meeting. So I think that's something you could look for, so that perhaps you could be, or anyone out there, could come to those meetings and know a little bit more about what's happening and appointments of different committees and so forth.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Becker. And you'll be starting next with the next question.
I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did it again. I'm like dyslexic tonight.
Actually left you out too.
Not
I was feeling a little.
Don't, I did that on purpose. I didn't want you to feel left out.
It's your turn next, Joyce. Yeah, I think we have phenomenal engaged citizens in this town. Look at the various committees we've got. The Pedestrian Cyclist Committee, the folks working on the Heath Farm and the Open Spaces Protection, our Comprehensive Plan Committee, folks in dozens of other projects who are willing to give their time to make the place they live better. People up here, the folks running for public office, the folks, our current elected officials, citizens willing to be engaged and make the town better. We couldn't do it without them. I am eager to solicit more involvement from them, find their expertise, and put it to work for all of us. I'm excited to keep doing that. I'll go back to what I had said previously. I think we need a better data-driven system so that folks can get their complaints in, a standardized system, so that when folks have issues with the town, you can track that, it's transparent, the town can track that, putting the town in a position to succeed, putting the fantastic employees we have in a position to succeed on behalf of all of us. So I'm excited to continue that citizen involvement and keep up the good work that the town's already doing there.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Becker. Do you favor the concept of having a public safety commissioner in town to oversee management of all emergency responders, police, fire, and EMS?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that. Perhaps it's something we could consider in the future, but I don't know if that's necessary. I'd have to do some research to know that. So that's all I have to say on the topic. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. Mr. Schnur.
My mic is not on, there we go. It's certainly an idea that is worth looking into. I don't know that at this point, on the hypothetical we've got, that there's enough metrics for success. What do we want this person to do? How do we want them to improve services? Certainly something to look into, though, and see if it's something that the citizens of town feel that we need. Right now, I think our emergency services are top-notch. I think our police do a fantastic job keeping us safe, as do our EMS and fire. Before we increase expenses, I think we need to make sure that we have a holistic view of what we want those increased expenditures to do. So certainly merits looking into, but I don't know that it's something that we definitely need at this point right off the bat.
I agree. And in fact, I think, broadly, I think, sort of hearkening back to my statement I made earlier regarding the infrastructure and leveraging it to, inform outreach and data aggregation. A evidence-based strategy that is derived from data inputs is absolutely critical to make an objective decision. And I think establishing a broad strategy and implementing a broad strategy for how recommendations like that are managed, triaged, and then responded to is something that presently we're lacking. And so I agree. Good call.
Thank you. The next question, and we'll start with Mr. Schnur. Currently, the town lists open special committee positions on the town website. Please describe what you think would be a fair process to select residents to serve on those committees.
I think we have a fair process. I think folks express interest. I think they're then interviewed by the appropriate town staff, by elected officials, to make sure that they're suitable for that, and then they volunteer and they put themselves to work on behalf of everyone. Public service is a fantastic calling, and we've got folks willing to step up at every level. Couldn't be luckier as a town to have that. Looking forward to continue encouraging it.
Thank you.
And would you mind repeating the question again?
Sure. Currently, the town lists open special committee positions on the town website. Please describe what you think would be a fair process to select residents to serve on those committees.
So I think I'm going to sort of start to sound a little bit like a broken record here, but I think that it all sort of comes back to this central theme that there needs to be an objective strategy implemented within this town to do evaluations of things such as, you know, how are folks selected for participation on committees. And that has to be aligned to performative measurement. These are things that we're broadly lacking right now. It's intentionality, and it's intentionality to be objective and data informed. So I think you know we can sort of all bucket these within that area.
Thank you.
You know, people apply for committees. We do have a process. They apply, they have a very liberal amount of time to respond if they're interested in a certain topic. We then, the town board and the town supervisor will receive their resumes and their letter of interest. They then receive an interview, and each candidate is asked the exact same questions. And that's the way that we interview for committees. It's an open door policy for anyone in the community to become involved. And I encourage everyone out there, if they're listening, to consider it when you have a topic you're interested in. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins, you'll be starting. And as we all know, we are neighbors and have chosen to live here in Bethlehem. Can you take a minute and tell the voters something positive about each of your fellow candidates?
Well, Mr. Schnurr looks fantastic tonight. No. I joke, and so does Joyce. Joyce looks great too. I joke. Something positive about my fellow candidates. These are two folks that are very dedicated, right? We're all up here looking to do what we believe is right for this town, what we believe is necessary and needed for this town. So I think their motivations and my motivations all sort of stem from that same, a very similar ideology, albeit perhaps somewhat philosophically divergent, and certainly tactically divergent. But these are two folks that are dedicated and love this town. I appreciate that.
I would say that both of the candidates are passionate. They both are very much, awareness is in their forefront, and they care about this community. They may express it in a different way, but that's why they're here tonight, because they care. And I can't say anything negative about either one of them, at least right now. Thank you.
Give me time.
I think they're both excellent at giving me compliments. No, I think anyone who's willing to get up on this stage cares and is willing to do the public service necessary that our town needs. I think a willingness to do this, to go out, to talk to voters, to share your plans and your beliefs in town is commendable. And I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the debate. It makes this town a better place, and it wouldn't happen without the folks here on this stage doing that. So it's a better and a benefit to all of us.
Thank you. Ms. Becker, you'll be starting. The town of Bethlehem has grown in infrastructure, populations, road miles, and demands on town services. What would you do to meet these increased needs?
Well, you're lucky I don't drive a snowplow. I would say that we're constantly looking at funding to expand our services, especially for the highway department. They do a tremendous job. In terms of, we are very fortunate to have a long-range plan when it comes to our water infrastructure. And I really I really can't give you any more information except to say, take a look at the new budget for 2024, take a look at the ARPA funds and where funds have gone to support our infrastructure. And I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Schnurr.
I think the town, through the comprehensive plan process, has done a great job in planning for that increased demand and making sure that we're able to meet the needs of residents and meet the needs of the town as it grows. Mark's guys at the highway department do a great job at providing services. The town employees we have across all of our departments do an amazing job at providing excellent value for the taxpayer dollars that we have. I think we can go farther. I think, again, at the risk of sounding like the broken record that we're all going to up here, we need to increase and improve the ways that we're getting feedback from town residents. But I also think we need to make sure that we're putting the land in town to productive use, making sure that we're engaging in environmental protection and open spaces, making sure that our commercial and industrial zoned areas are productive, that the property taxes and pilot agreements that we receive there are able to cushion residential taxpayers from unexpected increases. Eventually, something will happen that drives prices up. We've been seeing it, everybody's been seeing it in their pocketbooks over the past few years in terms of inflation. Cost increases shouldn't be a risk that we run relying only on residential property taxes. We need to make sure that we're doing the work to invest in and receive the benefits from the commercial, hamlet, and industrial zone spaces in town to make sure that we have the budget we need to continue providing great taxpayer value.
So the question is, what do you do to make sure that you're meeting the needs of an expanding town?
Basically.
Okay,
You want me
okay.
to read it again for you?
That would be great, yeah.
Okay. The town of Bethlehem has grown in infrastructure, population, road miles, and demands on town services. What would you do to meet these needs?
So I think, I'll go to an anecdote here. I've been out extensively over the last 8 months, knocking on doors and talking to people. And one of the main recurrent themes that I have encountered in my conversations with folks is a feeling of disconnectedness, a feeling like they were unaware or not participatory in decisions being made. At the end of the day, that's a failure of leadership. That is a failure of engagement, communication, and participation in meeting your residents where they're at. There needs to be a much more concerted and streamlined method for folks to be engaged by and from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Schnurr, you're next. What are your views on the size of the town's workforce?
I think the town workforce is doing their job. They're doing it well. They're providing great taxpayer value. I think that we hire the folks that we need to do the jobs that we need to get done. Nowhere is that more evident than the highway department. I think it's one of our largest departments in town. They do great work, and they're staffed at a level appropriate to deliver the services necessary. We're going to examine, as we examine budgets, we're going to examine staffing levels every time, and look at those issues that arise in town. Where do we need to put people? Where do we need to put the money to make sure that things get done? The folks that we have do fantastic work. We're going to continue to support them and make sure they have the support they need as employees to deliver on behalf of residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are tested and true business methodologies that can be deployed to answer exactly that question. And again, I'll go back to some of my earlier responses. There needs to be intent. We need to have intent in how it is we evaluate right sizing and staffing of our public institutions. So how do I feel about it right now? I feel like I would like to look at the data, and then I would like to develop a strategy to effectively respond to the current levels of staffing, be that either way.
Thank you.
Our workforce, I think most governments and private businesses have struggled during the past few years to backfill positions. We're really very fortunate. We've been able to hire some fantastic employees, so the workforce has actually increased over the last year. I believe it's at 240 from 219 or thereabouts. Over the year, our HR department does a fantastic job advertising, getting people out, interviewing candidates. And, you know, I can't say any more about that, except our workforce is fantastic.
Yeah, you remember how, you get an, yes.
I'm
go
cool
ahead.
that I can just go ahead and talk now?
Yeah, yeah,
All right, and you all
yeah.
have to listen?
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to just kind of amend my last statement and add to it. I think that there is a current fairly significant omission in the town's workforce and how it's managing its communications. Any institution that has the resources such that are available in Bethlehem would have a communications team to manage its outreach and connect to its citizens. So I think that would be one place that I would look at immediately to make a determination about where and how staffing and resources can be allocated to make sure that that communications channel is open.
Thank you. And we will be starting with Mr. Rowlands, please. The next question, what is your position regarding the library's hosting a drag story hour?
My position on hosting of a drag story hour. You know, throughout my campaign, I have held a fairly hard line that there are red meat topics that are leveraged by both political parties, and as an unaffiliated, if I wade into those waters, then I do myself a great injustice. How do I feel about hosting the drag hour? I feel like as a community, it is imperative that we treat every one of them, every one of our fellow neighbors with respect. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Ms. Becker.
We do still live in a democracy, and we still have choice. And I feel if you want to take your children to the drag queen story hour, excuse me, at the library, feel free. You have every right to do that. If not, then just don't go to that particular program.
Thank you. Mr. Schnur.
I think this is where we might see some disagreement on candidates because the First Amendment shouldn't be up for debate. We have freedom of speech, we have freedom of expression. Volunteers at the library willing to volunteer their time for a family event should be free to do so. They were. I was there. I spoke at the library board meeting in support of the event. I attended in support of the event with folks from around this region, from around this community. It's not a national issue when folks in town stand up at a library board meeting and say that they're afraid they live in a sundown town, that they're not welcome here. That's unacceptable. This is a town for everyone. This is a town in America where the First Amendment applies, and if you want to take your kids and your family to a drag story hour, excellent, go. We have one here. We had one in July. I hope we have another one. This town welcomes everyone, and when we don't do that, when we don't stand up for everyone, we're weaker as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Becker, you'll start with the next question. Transparency in following the law is important for any elected official. Please outline your campaign, how your campaign has been financed, and have you submitted your state campaign finance reports in a timely manner?
Yes, that's part of if you're going to serve on a legislative board, you certainly need to be able to know and follow the rules. Yes, I have a treasurer and for the campaign, and the treasurer takes care of monies that are donated, and they are from the community. I didn't accept any donations from any other businesses and so forth. And I've answered to all that they ask in terms of reporting.
Thank you. Mr. Schnur.
Yes, I have. You can look them up online on the Campaign Finance website, Campaign Finance Board's website. It is a legal obligation of every candidate for office to file your campaign finance reports in a timely fashion. I have done so. As I said before, if we're going to write laws, we should follow them. I hope everyone else is doing the same. Very proud of the support that I've received. Forever grateful to my amazing campaign treasurer for making sure those reports are in on time and accurate. And I encourage everyone, we don't want to have a dark money problem here in Bethlehem. We see what happens at the national stage when we don't know where the money's coming from, and we don't know why things are said the way they're said, who owes what to whom. New York State has strong campaign finance transparency laws. I am proud that I follow them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I could say the same. I have been, I have frankly been derelict and delayed in at least one of my filings. I am running as an unaffiliated candidate. I do not have a legacy infrastructure upon which to draw, nor do I have any national backing to curate my finances and report them per spec. All of that is to say, though, as an unaffiliated candidate, without without the affiliation and legacy that comes with political parties, I'm accountable to myself. I do my own finances. I am writing the rules to being an unaffiliated candidate because it's largely without precedent. And at the end of the day, I'm more than happy to stand up here or in any other forum and take full accountability for anything that I may have shortcomings in. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Schnurr, you'll be starting next. Sorry. Oh, you have I didn't see that. Please, go ahead.
The rules apply to everyone. They should. They need to. The Democratic Party didn't write the rules for campaign finance. New York State did. The Democratic Party is a collection of people who tend to believe, although it's the Democratic Party, so they don't tend to believe a lot of things the same, but it's people who hold some certain principles about fairness, working families, and the need to work together to solve issues. That's the support I've gotten, folks that care about these issues, some of the same issues that I do. I also wish that everyone was following the rules. They are not new. They are not hidden. They're right there in public in black and white for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you can. I'm sorry, did you raise your hand too?
Did you want to?
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. Mr. Rollins, go ahead.
Okay. In response to Mr. Schnurr's comments, I would take you to task that the political institutions did not write the rules. The Board of Elections is staffed by a commissioner from the Republican and Democratic Party. It is not staffed by an unaffiliated member of the community. This is not a process that is accessible to individuals broadly. There is significant, and I mean profoundly significant, headwinds to traversing into politics locally in Bethlehem that are profound, if nothing else. So you're absolutely right. The rules need to apply to everyone. I couldn't possibly agree more, and I do not exempt myself from that. The rules do need to apply to me, and I'll stand up here and take full accountability for that.
Did you have the red card up? Yes,
I did.
please.
I just want to say the town board is a legislative board. There are rules and regulations to serve on the board. We do uphold laws of the state of New York. I think you need to consider that. And certainly it's important to be on time with all of your reportings. And I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm just saying it is part of what our job is about. Thank you.
Thank you. We've now Mr. Schnur, you have one red card, and Ms. Becker, you have one red card if you would like, okay? So thank you. So the next question, we'll start with Mr. Schnur. How long have you lived in the town of Bethlehem?
Just about 6 years now, almost.
Thank you.
I've been, oh, am I next?
Go, you go, yes. Yeah.
I've been living in the town of Bethlehem for about 10 years.
Gee, it's been 48, I have to think here a minute, it's been 48 years I've lived here, and I live here by choice. I chose to live here, I'm originally from the state of Kentucky. I'm sorry, I have to say that. So it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Rollins, you will be going next with the next question. Is the town's current tax structure fair to smaller property owners compared to larger property owners?
Is the town's tax structure fair relative large house to small house owners?
Versus small versus large property owners?
So I would say that, just as I have responded to a vast majority of my questions here, that I think that there's nothing that should be off the table when structuring an appropriate strategy to evaluating finance and infrastructure of a town. I think that question is worth evaluation, and it's worth evaluation and determination based on intention, data, and broad analysis.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would say yes, it is. I've lived in a very large house and paid very large taxes for having that comfort. And I've lived in a very small house where you can see the back door from the front door. So I would say yes, it's fair.
Thank you.
I agree. No, to those whom much is given, much is expected. The folks that are having those larger properties are going to be asked to contribute. I think, again, we need to look at making sure that we're having productive use of commercial and industrial zone spaces so that we can help control the property tax burden on residential folks and residential properties. But if you're doing quite well, much will be asked of you to support those who may need a little bit of assistance.
Thank you. And Ms. Becker, you'll be starting next, and this is a long one. So what are your thoughts on the impact of short-term rentals or short-term businesses operating in residential areas in the town of Bethlehem? Specifically, can you share thoughts as to whether or not the town should investigate placing restrictions on the types of operations that can take place similar to other communities? Example of Colony, City of Albany, New York City, and others, in the interest of maintaining quality of life standards?
It's a tough question. We know we have had issues here in Bethlehem currently where people are short-term renters and with Airbnbs, and they aren't always respectful of the neighbors. That's an issue. We certainly know about it. We certainly in the future will be looking at that as an option. Will we have a limit that properties can be leased? I don't know. I don't know the law about that. I have not researched that. So I'm not going to say I know that much about it because I do not. But we certainly a topic that we've all been concerned about, and we know that it has been of concern for one neighborhood in particular. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schnur.
I'll go even farther on that. I think it's important that that companies and landlords or folks using short-term rental properties be good neighbors. If they are not able to do that, the town board needs to look into what rules, regulations, or law, town code changes need to be made to ensure that those looking to make a buck aren't doing so at the expense of quality of life for the people that live around them. Obviously don't want to take away someone's livelihood in terms of how they put food on their table, how they afford their mortgage. But if someone's operating a mini hotel or a for-profit business, that's going to not only detract from the housing supply we all need to live here, but that's also likely not in the best interest of the neighborhood. So obviously would want to take a close look at that and make sure that we're hearing from residents' concerns and perspectives about where and how that's going on and impacting their lives.
Thank you.
I think at the end of the day, the evaluation here needs to be the impact that those short-term business leases or short-term rental properties have within our community, specifically on the purpose and impact it may have to local business. I think that there's intent that needs to be taken into consideration when you're evaluating how folks are traveling into and out of the community, especially those folks who are coming to our community to support our businesses. So my position on this is, as an advocate for small businesses within our community, it would behoove us all to look at the implications and benefits of regulation within that space, if at all warranted.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Schnurr, we'll start with you. In your view, what is the benefit or detriment to having all town board members and town supervisor from the same political party? How do you feel it serves the public interest?
The public interest is expressed through elections. We show up, we vote, and if everyone happens to be from the same party, then that is what the public's interest is. I am not running to be a Democratic board member, I'm running to be a town board member. I am a Democrat, I'm proud to be one, I'm proud to be endorsed by the Bethlehem Democratic Committee, I'm proud to be endorsed by the Working Families Party. But politics is not what public service is about, it's a mechanism for organizing how we run for it. I am happy to, and I'm eager to work alongside anyone who's willing to. Letters next to your name to the side. There's not, Republican potholes. There's not Democratic traffic islands. It's about making sure that we serve the town. It's about making sure that we're able to provide the services the taxpayers deserve. So I'm happy to work with everyone. If the voters say we want a town board that's elected Democrats, great. I hope to be one.
Thank you.
So how does it serve the public interest to have a board of a single party? I think this again sort of goes back to the question of accessibility and access. Folks who share the same ideological perspective tend not to dissent and ask questions when warranted, especially when we're talking about institutions like political institutions, where there's a very, very clear hierarchical structure in place, and especially when that hierarchical structure extends beyond the borders of our community. As an independent and unaffiliated candidate, I have no burden of political party. I seek to function as a conduit to be that resource that I so longed to have access for. So how does it serve? I think Mr. Schnurr is right. I think it does serve a certain percentage of the population, but I don't think it serves all of them. And we are a town, and we all deserve representation.
Thank you. Ms. Becker.
I think any board and any committee that I've ever served on, there have been many people who may not all agree, but you must come to a consensus. And that's regardless of whether you're affiliated, as I am, with the Democratic Party, or you're unaffiliated. It doesn't play a big role. I know the first term I served on the town board, we did have a Republican on the board, and I would say 99% of the time this person, hopefully you're not listening, sir, but out there, we all agreed on a certain issue. And I think that was the importance. The political affiliation did not play a role in that board for 4 years. And, I think that only at one time in those years did this particular person make a comment about something he felt was real important that he felt was against the other members of another party. Otherwise, it works just fine. We serve the people and the interest of the people. Thanks.
Thank you. So, yeah, okay, I saw you reach, okay. The 16, and this is starting with Mr. Rowland's place. The area of Elm Avenue from Elm Avenue East to Jericho Road and half of Jericho Road doesn't have town water or sewer. If elected, what would you do to help the citizens who live in this section of town get access?
So I think it's imperative here that we do prioritize infrastructure in this town. I think it's absolutely critical that we have the resources available to the folks within our community that need them. Be that sewage, be that water. I think that there has to be that intent behind the decisions that we make relative to where our expenditure is going. For or against the acquisition of the Heath Dairy Farm, that represented a significant portion of, or a significant investment. And here we have citizens who are without basic infrastructure. It gives me great pause.
Thank you. Ms. Becker?
I know that there is a new development near Jericho Road, and I'm unaware if they have water, but certainly clean water is a major priority for everyone in this town, should they wish to have town water. Perhaps that's something we should be looking to in the future, because Elm Avenue East from Elm Avenue to Jericho Road is developing more. I think that's something that we need to look at in terms of why isn't it available, and is it possible? I know years ago I have a very good friend on that particular part of the road, and she said it was a very expensive venture. I'm sure it's more expensive now, but what does that mean? I'm not sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
I am eager to meet with folks on infrastructure concerns. I'd say that open spaces are a part of our town's natural infrastructure and our environmental sustainability goals as a town, but certainly in the case of Elm Ave East, I want to talk with those residents. I want to see what they want. I think getting onto town waters is probably a pretty good goal for them, and see where the infrastructure needs are, align those costs with what services we have, work with the fine folks at the highway department who are able to save taxpayer money under Superintendent Dorsey's leadership time and time again, to get what we need and to get residents what they need. And we need a better system. I've said it before, I'll say it again, we need a better system to systematize how folks bring issues to the town so that we can look at them globally and we can make decisions that are transparent and accessible to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have finished the questions that have been sent in advance. And so now we've taken some cards from people in the audience. They've been reviewed by league members at the table in the back. If there's anyone else who has a question, please go to the back table, take a card and fill it out, and they'll review it. If it hasn't already been asked, then, and we could read your handwriting, it'll be passed up to me, okay? So I'm going to start with the next question. And this will be with Ms. Becker, starting first. I'm sure you are aware that there is property within the town of Bethlehem at the Port of Albany. What are your views on possible development in that area?
I'm sorry, will you repeat that?
Sure. I'm reading it verbatim. So I'm sure you are aware that there is property within the town of Bethlehem at the Port of Albany. What are your views on possible development in that area?
I don't feel the town board has authority to make any decisions on that property at all. That's my understanding.
Okay. Mr. Schnur?
There we go. I think that, as I've said before, it's important that we leverage the commercial and industrial zoned areas in town to make sure that we are controlling the burden placed on residential properties. I think in that particular area that we've got to look at the environmental concerns, make sure that remediation on that site is done properly. You can't leave an open coal ash dump out there it's not going to be good. I believe that a lot of that remediation has happened or is in progress. Where there are issues, I think we're going to need to look to the DEC to come in. It is not a town-owned property. It's owned by the Port of Albany. The town process, as we've seen, the legal process appears to have been followed through the planning board. I believe that is currently under adjudication, so I will leave it to those more learned than I to offer final opinion on that. But I think that it's not town land. I'm sure my friend over here is going to have a bit to say on that, so I will end my comments and let him get to it.
I do have some stuff to say on that, actually.
I want to remind, this is an informational forum, and we're not here to debate, and we're informing the citizens of Bethlehem of your responses and feelings about some of the questions. So, Mr. Rollins, please.
So I think that when it comes to public health concerns, there should be no domain that the town board does not have influence and participation. The property that's in question here is a CCR landfill, historical surface impoundment. And right now, as far as all the evidence suggests, it's contaminated with about 2 million tons of fly ash, coal ash, and bottom slag. These are chemical compounds that are the byproduct of burning coal over an extended period of time and release in their decomposition, though that might be the wrong word here, release highly toxic heavy metals, arsenic, cadmium, mercury, lead, and are actively, as we sit here talking right now, leaching into the Hudson River and into the air around Glenmont. So how do I think that area should be developed? We need a very decisive strategy informed by the data provided by the EPA to remediate before we talk about anything else. I've personally had conversations with multiple folks regarding remediation, and the investment would be significant on part of whomever is
Thank you,
accountable for the contamination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. And the next question, and we'll start. Oh, again, you know what? I go right into the next question. You raise your red hand, please.
I would like to say that I believe that anyone who's interested in all the guidelines for the port project should look online. They give you many options of how you can research fly ash, coal ash, when meetings are, as well as the testing of water and air. I think the fly ash is at this point 4 feet and encapsulated. Certainly that's better than it was before the project started, but that's all I know about the port project. But I encourage everyone to take a look online at the port project.
Thank you. Okay, the next question, and that will be starting with Mr. Schnurr. What is your position on last year's Proposition 2?
I voted for it. I was proud to vote for it. I was proud to volunteer on behalf of letting folks know about what it was. I knocked on doors for it. And I think that the community visioning process will be a benefit to the whole town. We're going to protect open space. We are regional, we are national leaders in making sure that the historic natural heritage of this town is protected, not just for now, but forever. So I'm quite happy with the outcome.
Thank you.
My opinion on Proposition 2 is that it was civic engagement that was successful. That's how a healthy government should work, that citizens came together, advocated their positions, and ultimately the proposition was successful. I think that, again, in light of the infrastructure deficits that we may have around the town, that it was a misuse of resources. And I just wanted to just respond one additional component to what Joyce just indicated. The information that was put out by the Port of Albany is patently false. It is patently incorrect.
I'm sorry. Mr. Rowlands,
Yeah.
you have done with your red cards, and we're answering the question in front of us. You're taking an
good.
opportunity that is not being, cannot
Okay.
be
Yep.
afforded to you at this point.
I don't wanna do that.
So you could continue if you have an answer specific to this question?
I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh. What is your position on last year's Prop 2?
I'm thrilled with Proposition 2, and I also voted for Proposition 2. I know that for an extended period of time, people would say, oh, we as a town cannot stop development. But to conserve the acreage conserves what people, many people, and I'm one included, we moved here because of the difference in the rural and the rural and nature of the town. I'm thrilled. I think we've come a long way. I think the new citizens group will put together tremendous ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question will be starting with Mr. Rowlands. What can the town do to address climate change?
So I think that I'll sort of circle back to some of my earlier questions here. I think that we really need a quantifiable and data-informed strategy to addressing the risks and concerns that are presented by a changing environment. I think the data is quite clear that there is significant risk, especially to infrastructure that's bordering on water, such as down at the Port of Albany, that needs to be remediated to make sure that we're taking an intentional approach and making sure that our community is healthy into the future. Right now, those contaminants at the Port of Albany are leaching into the Hudson River, and we cannot take an at-all-costs approach to addressing concerns with a changing environment. It leaves us vulnerable in the future and leaves us significantly at risk.
Thank you.
So how do we make our environment more friendly, climate friendly? Do we use multiple modes of transportation? Do we have electric cars? Do we have hybrid cars? Do we have electric bikes? How do we get there? How do we keep our environment cleaner? While I know that we're going to be looking more and more to electric vehicles and what's out there and available for town business, including some of the large highway trucks, as we see now, our school district is now using electric buses. It will help keep a cleaner, smarter environment.
Thank you.
I think Bethlehem is already a regional leader in the fight against climate change. I think we have more to do. I am excited to work with the town to bring in more green energy to help decarbonize town operations, to get ahead of the state's Climate Act mandates, because they will be expensive for property owners, for taxpayers, unless we are aggressive about taking advantage of federal grant opportunities, state grant opportunities that are becoming available now. This isn't something that we should say, oh, okay, we'll have to do it in a decade, let's wait. We should be doing it now. We have open spaces. I want to work and bring in partners on things like agrivoltaics so that we can partner farming with green energy production. Bring in experts, some of whom already live here in town, but are certainly accessible to us through our proximity to Albany and the fantastic research universities we have in this region to help us continue that role as a national leader. We've got green energy companies that want to be here, and we want to help bring their supply chains here, local jobs, making sure that our zoned areas are productive and paying dividends for taxpayers. This is the fight of not just our lives, but of our kids' lives. And if we aren't aggressive about it and we aren't right up in front and making the investments we need, we're not going to be able to do the things that we need to protect our livable environment going forward.
Thank you. Ms. Becker, and we'll start with you. Did you receive coaching for this debate? If so, how do you feel it helped you?
Perhaps I need coaching. No, I haven't said anything too bad so far. No, I didn't have any coaching. I can say David Van Leuven did not coach me. We deal, twice a month, and I think One thing I do want to say is I think, and a question I've been asked by the community, you know, they'll say, well, you only work an hour to 3 hours every week, every other week. No, that's not the way it is. There's lots of reading to do on the town board agenda. When you look at your agenda and multiply it, you're going to spend quite a few hours, and we do serve on different committees, many more than I do, many of the board members. Thanks.
Thank you.
I did not get coaching on the debate. My background is in public policy. My career has been spent putting government to work for people on educational access issues, on worker safety issues, on medical safety issues. I like answering questions about issues. Every once in a while, I'm decent at it. But I think this is a tremendous opportunity to hear from folks. I've knocked on over 1,000 doors in town as part of this election. And the coaching, I guess, has been listening to residents, hearing about how this town can be better, how we can work together, the partnerships that they think are necessary for progress. And I've been very, very lucky to have that experience. I'm excited to continue it. And I'm grateful to the folks that have taken the time on their front steps in the heat, in the rain, to talk to me about what's important to them and to hear about some of my ideas for making this town a better place and building together to move forward. So thank you.
I would imagine that it's probably patently obvious that I did not receive any coaching tonight's forum. And similar to Mr. Schnur here, much of my strategy coming into tonight was predicated on the conversations that I've had over the last 6 months to 6,000 years, whatever it is, knocking on doors, having conversations with folks. And in addition to that, the multi-year time and resource investment to evaluating the significant public health, the significant public health concerns that are currently at play in the town of Bethlehem, and extend far beyond what we see right now in the town of in the hamlet of Glenmont. So no, I did not receive any coaching.
Thank you. And we'll start with Mr. Schnur. Why do you think folks who live outside of the center of Del Mar do not apply for committees?
I don't know. We should find out. We should ask them. We need to build a better system to get resident input so that we can have a systemic look at issues in town, that we can track those issues, and that the solutions are accessible. But I am eager and engaged. I've knocked on doors in every hamlet, and I'm going to continue to talk to folks from every section of this town. Love more involvement. Love to go solicit more involvement. Eager and excited for the volunteers from every section of town to get more involved, and I want to make sure there are pathways for them to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins.
So it's hard to say. We're being asked a hypothetical here in some regards. I think I only have anecdote here to respond to this question, and some of the individuals whom I've spoken with, whom have participated on committees, don't feel like they're participatory in a process. They feel as though decisions have been made, and their obligation is to back into those decisions. So I think we need to be very, very intentional about inclusivity of all individuals across Bethlehem. That we have diversity in our representation, not only from political party, but from hamlet, from class, color, creed. I think it's very, very critical that we have, sitting on this board, individuals who are capable and able to represent the entirety of Bethlehem, not just its most populous core.
Thank you.
Well, we were very pleased when we reached out to individuals to be interested in the Heath property and to serve on that committee, because half of the people live in the south end of town, from Glenmont south. and the other to make it a full 50%. One particular farmer is a Delmar address, but he's on the cusp of Selkirk. So we were very pleased to see that, because both of you are right. Most of the times it's because people don't apply from there. We can't drag people to decide to apply. So that's all I can say. We're pleased with this last committee that people in the South did listen. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Rollins, do you feel that the town's comprehensive plan is guaranteed for all town residents as far as clean air, clean water, and public health is concerned?
I fear greatly that the town's comprehensive plan is wholly inadequate for specific cohorts within the town of Bethlehem. I think that to establish a comprehensive plan in the absence of remediation of a profound public health disaster is a failure of leadership. I feel that in order for the comprehensive plan to appropriately be defined as comprehensive, we have to take into consideration all the hamlets and all the residents of this town who will be impacted by the decisions of the government institutions. And at present, and certainly, following a prior response that the town may not have authority within a specific jurisdiction of this town, I have great pause that will be addressed.
Thank you.
Yes, I think the comprehensive plan did do that, and there were many individuals who participated from all areas of the town on that. That was a very large committee. I think that we need to do some research. Something came up tonight that sparked my interest, and that is how many homeowners do not have access to our town water and sewer. I think that's something that I plan to ask DPW just that question, because I do not know the answer. But I do think we will address those issues in the comprehensive plan. They have been. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schnur?
I think the comprehensive plan is and should be an iterative process. It's a statement of principles. It's a guidance for how to get there. It is not a finished product that we're done, cool, 15 years, we'll come back and we'll do it again. It's about goals. It's about making sure that we can move towards a town that is equitable for everyone, where environmental concerns are addressed for everyone. I've read it. It's fantastic bedtime reading. If you haven't, please do. The work that folks put into that from all across town was important and valuable. It's not going to be a finished product because our town isn't a finished product. We're going to keep finding issues. We're going to keep finding opportunities to succeed and move forward and make progress. And the comprehensive plan gives us a strategy for how to get there. It's a commitment to get there. We're not a perfect town today. We're not going to be a perfect town tomorrow or in a few years even, but we're going to try and get closer. And I'm excited to do that with everybody here and across town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Becker, are you aware of water quality issues in Glenmont? What would be the role of the Town of Bethlehem's board in addressing this issue, or are they already doing so? Were you able to, do you want me to read it again?
Can you repeat the water clogging?
No, it says water quality.
Water quality.
Water quality issues in Glenmont, and what would be the role of the town board in addressing this issue, or are they already addressing it?
I can't answer that question. I do not know. I don't know about issues in Glenmont. I haven't heard anything about that. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I'm unaware of that. Again, when I ask about the water on Elm Avenue East, I'll ask about that.
Thank you. Mr. Schnur?
I am not aware of that, but again, we're going to make me do it again. We need a better system so that folks can easily bring issues to the town. Those issues can be tracked transparently and move through the process towards a positive solution. If folks are having water quality issues, I know our town staff is going to be excited to solve that for them. And the town, I am confident, and certainly as a hopeful town board member, would be confident to work with anyone who's having any sort of issues to get it solved. Water is as we know, a basic human need and right. So obviously that's going to be a priority to get any sort of quality issues cleaned up.
Thank you.
Water is a public service as much as it is a public health concern. The access to high-quality water in Glenmont is very unfortunate, given some of the allocation and prioritization of the current board. There are several instances in the town of Bethlehem whereby water is semi-potable or brackish. There's an additional concern currently with contamination of heavy metals within the drinking water, and it's concerning that is not a top priority for all of those currently sitting on the Bethlehem Town Board.
Thank you. And we'll start with Mr. Schnurr. Please describe your involvement, either past or present, in the Bethlehem community. Elaborate on how you plan to continue to show a commitment to the town.
I am a proud member of the Bethlehem Democratic Committee, working on issues like Prop 2 to protect our open spaces. Shortly after my wife and I moved, not so shortly, but as we're finding our feet in this community, we had a little pandemic that made everybody stay inside. But working with community members, working with friends and neighbors to help make sure folks had what they needed, working in a mutual aid network so that folks, if they needed something, we got to work on that. We made sure that folks' needs were met. I want to continue to do that. I want to put the skills that I have to use. My background, again, is in getting government to do what people need it to do. I am eager to have that be one of the many ways that I continue to serve the Bethlehem community moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the question?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Please describe your involvement, either past or present, in the Bethlehem community. Elaborate on how you plan to continue to show a commitment to the town.
So I have been participatory in the town in marshaling resources to help protect the public health of a relatively large constituency within our town. I plan to stay very, very actively engaged in that effort from now until it has come to complete resolution and remediation. And am sitting here today against some significant odds and challenges to continue my effort in civic engagement and to continue to champion the critical needs of the folks in Bethlehem.
Thank you.
I support the Bethlehem Library 100% and all their programming. I served as a trustee for a decade on the board of the Bethlehem Public Library. I serve on two different boards, the Bethlehem Senior Projects Incorporated Board, serving the needs of the older residents, and on the Community Fund Board, where we serve the needs of families and the elderly. There's certainly a big need out there for a lot of people to decide to donate their time to any of the committees, and I hope many of you out there will consider doing just that. And that's what I do in my free time. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins. I need to check my handwriting because it's a... So what are your views regarding the Republican candidate for town board not appearing tonight?
What are my views on the Republican candidate not participating tonight? I'll speak a little louder here. I think it's unfortunate. We need to have folks who are willing to demonstrate their commitment and willing to sit up here and answer really important questions from the community. So I think it's unfortunate that the Republican candidate isn't here. I hope everything's okay and that there isn't something prohibitive from limiting her participation. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate.
Ms. Becker.
I've never met the person who is the Republican candidate. I do know a lot of people in this town. I really was looking forward to meeting her, and I think she would have been fine. I don't think we're that scary. I don't think there's anybody in the office that's scary. I think that she really and truly missed out on a wonderful opportunity, and I can't say anything negative or positive about that.
Thank you.
If 90% of success is showing up, I'm just glad there's somebody out there for the other 10%. So you got to be in the room, and you got to be willing to see the voters, and you got to be willing to talk to them and answer tough questions. It's not going to get easier in a town meeting or in a town board meeting or in a committee meeting than it is today, and it shouldn't be easy. It's called public service. So I'm, again, complimentary and grateful for the folks that are up here willing to talk about these issues, for the folks willing to listen, for the folks that are going to be watching at home on YouTube. So thank you for taking that time. I hope you found this a valuable effort or valuable use of your time, and that you vote. Early voting starts the 28th, and Election Day is November 7th. Decisions are made by those who show up.
Thank you. Next question. The cost of insurance and employee benefits has spiked in recent years with no indication of slowing down. How should the town plan for these added costs, knowing they are likely not to come down? And we'll start with you, Ms. Becker.
Well, that's a question that we're so fortunate to have a wonderful town controller, excuse me, Michael Cohen, and we're one of the few municipalities in the area with a 5-year plan to plan ahead for the future, and he keeps us right on spot. He makes sure that the town's money is, we tell him it's not his, but he treats it as his, and he makes a plan for those expenditures. We do know that all of the benefits for the employees will be on the rise. It's going to happen, and we will plan ahead in the next 5 years.
Thank you.
We not only have a great town controller, our county comptroller, who's thankful that we're joined by this evening, also helps with those shared services that the town uses, with those overarching county services. The cost for nothing is going to go down in the next 5 years, it seems. And we do need to plan for that. That's, again, part of why we need to make sure that the property tax burden does not fall on residents alone. We need to protect open spaces, but we also need to make sure that our commercial, hamlet, and industrial zoning is productive for the town, and that we're able to reap the benefits so that we can control long-term costs, so that we can plan for them, and that we can deal with the unexpected as it arises, as it always does. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins.
So there's I could talk about this one for a long time. There is a number of different strategies, methodologies that could be used and deployed to help augment and offset some of the overhead that invariably will be allocated to taking care of the individuals that serve us in the community. At the end of the day, and to keep it abridged, I think it's imperative that we, as a town, as a community, as a world, focus upstream in prevention and wellness to augment the costs and potential downstream impacts of having a population that's otherwise unwell. In addition to that, I think it's positively critical that a robust analysis be completed, and that resources are marshaled to make sure that that any behavioral health related conditions be evaluated, especially those in the workforce, but across the community, and that resources are available to address those for folks that are suffering.
Thank you. Mr. Schnurr, development is a double-edged sword. It keeps taxes low, but also brings with it traffic congestion and stresses infrastructure. Is there too much development in Bethlehem, not enough of the right amount, or just the right amount? Please be specific.
I think that the long-term plan, as part of the comprehensive plan that the town just finished, is going to be guiding that development. That's part of the role of the town board, the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, to guide that development, to make sure we do balance future development. So make sure that we keep that quality of life, that we're not overtaxing our infrastructure, whether it be water, our sidewalks, our roads. Folks want, and a constant conversation that I have at doors and talking to voters, is that they need folks to slow down on the roads, that there's not the pedestrian safety and the cyclist safety that we need. So balancing new development with that pedestrian safety, making sure we slow folks down, and I wish it was as simple as just slapping a new speed limit on there and everyone would do it. But looking at the infrastructure, getting the traffic engineers that we have, the great town employees that we have, the experts, to look at those issues, make sure we have what we need, make sure that we're keeping our communities safe. And again, not residential development is not the only type of development that this town is going to look at. Looking at expanding the green energy infrastructure that we're building, that green economy jobs that are starting to come into this town, like Plug Power, and looking what we can do to help bring more of that supply chain here locally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins.
There we go. This is a highly recurrent theme in my outreach and engagement with the community. There is a significant amount of displeasure with the way that development has been managed. Folks do not feel like they are participatory and engaged in some of the decisions that are coming down from our local institutions. I think it's imperative, it is absolutely critical that we have those communications infrastructure in place to make sure that folks don't feel like they're blindsided. For folks to feel like they are participating and engaged with what's happening right in and around their homes. Now, all of that is to say that we need a sufficient balance. We need to have the tax revenue and school enrollment to make sure that we're able to continue to provide the high quality resources that the town of Bethlehem does provide. And there needs to be a intentional, concerted effort to qualify and quantify the rate of expansion relative to communication.
Thank you.
Again, a town cannot stop development, but the comp plan does give you guidelines and a vision of how Bethlehem will look in the next 10 years. We are looking now at Kenwood Avenue, and we just did a big study on Kenwood Avenue and looking at all the options that are available to how can we slow traffic. It's certainly of a big concern, especially for pedestrians. We do know that the flashing beacons you see on Delaware Avenue certainly does help with identifying pedestrians and bicyclists I'm tongue-tied, in sidewalks, and we hope that there will be some of those available. Also, we're looking at Delaware Avenue, and we'll be putting in a plan for Delaware Avenue that is also available for everyone and keeps everybody safe. That's our main concern.
Thank you. So, it's time for closing statements. I knew you thought we were going to go on all night. It would be a marathon. So, Ms. Becker, we'll start with you, then Mr. Rollins, and we'll finish with Mr. Schnurr, please. Thank you.
A special thanks to the League of Women Voters, the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, and the Spotlight newspaper for organizing this important event. Most of all, I want to extend thanks to all of our town employees who work hard day in and day out to perform essential services. Thank you to all. Consider taking a moment, each and every one of you, to say thank you to a town employee during the upcoming months. I'm proud to say that I have served the town of Bethlehem for many years, retiring in 2015 as the Director of Senior Services Department, and in 2016 I joined the town board. My life's focus is the interest of families, both young and old, who need assistance. I continue to serve on several community nonprofit boards that provide services for families. I want to continue to be a community connection between town residents, town employees, and town government. I am committed to keeping Bethlehem the best place to live in the Capital District. It's been a privilege to serve as your town board member, excuse me, and I ask that you trust me to keep Bethlehem moving forward during the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all for this opportunity to address some of the community questions and concerns. Over the course of this forum, we've discussed issues that touch on every resident in Bethlehem. It's really been wonderful, so thank you to all those who were participatory in the organization of this, to give folks the opportunity to learn a little bit more about myself and my fellow candidates up here. As we move forward, I want to emphasize my commitment to everyone in the town. I'm not here for partisan politics or personal gain. I'm here because I believe in the power of our community and the potential for positive change if we can reform our systems to be more accountable and accessible to the folks within this community. And I think it's imperative that we evaluate the organization of the town and its political affiliation at the leadership level, and find a direction that works more appropriately for everyone in this town. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you again to the League of Women Voters, to Spotlight, to the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce for putting this on, to the volunteers who made tonight's event possible, to the folks who attended, and to the folks who are watching at home. This election represents a real choice for how we want to move our town forward, for what's possible for the residents of Bethlehem and for the future of the place we all call home. I am excited to get to work on protecting our environment, on building safer infrastructure for our pedestrians and cyclists, for making sure that we support local businesses and leave this town stronger than we found it. That's always our obligation, to help not just ourselves, but the people around us, to make sure that we are working together for progress. I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to continue the conversations that I've been lucky enough to have as part of this campaign. And I just, again, want to encourage you, please vote. It is not just our privilege, but frankly our duty as Americans to make sure that we have a say, that we stand up, and that we participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank all of you, the candidates, for attending tonight and addressing the questions of the citizens of this community. Thank you to the residents for being here and participating in the democratic process. Let's please give all of them a round of applause. Thank you again to our sponsors, the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, Spotlight News, and thank you to our volunteers. Please remember to vote. Early voting starts this weekend, and Election Day is on November 7th. Thank you all, and if you're interested in joining the League, we have material at the table in the back. Thank you.